Well, hello there peeps, and welcome back to the channel. It's great to see you once again. Welcome to Devon and welcome to the city of Exeter. And in fact, Exeter Cathedral right behind me here. And as you can see, they're already setting up for the Christmas markets, which will start later on in November and run through till just before Christmas. Definitely worth visiting if you're able to get down to Exeter for that. Even if you just come on the train for a day out, it's really fantastic. Some great food, drink, local produce, everything you would want from a Christmas market. But we're not here for that today. I thought it's a bit of a grey day, chance of some rain, it's a little bit blustery. Let's do something in the city for a change. So I've come up on the train from sunny Teignmouth, well, almost sunny. And today we're going to be doing the Exeter City Walls Trail. What's that all about? Well, as you probably would guess, a trail that you can follow all what's left of the Exeter City Walls, and I think there's still a fair bit of them left. And there's different information points as you go around. I've downloaded the leaflet off the internet and I'm going to see if I can find my way around. I'm not an expert on Exeter at all. I don't really know much about coming in to do shopping. Been around there a few times, been to a few gigs, that's about it. So I don't really know my way around most of Exeter. So, you know, I'm just going to be a tourist today, like everybody else. We're going to follow the Exeter City Wall. Let's go off and find our first port of call. I'm not with Nina today because I've left her with her friend Leslie. They're going to be doing some shopping and then they're off for lunch right here at the IFE. All right for some, eh? I don't think I'm posh enough for there. Right, let's go and find this first place. Isn't it magnificent? And even better inside as well. Definitely worth a visit. We'll do that on a different video sometime for you. Some lovely old buildings here in Exeter. We're now in the High Street. I'm looking for our first port of call, which I think is in Castle Street, which I think is going to be along here and on the left hand side somewhere. Well, that looks promising. I think we're heading in the right direction. I think we need to go up here and we need to find our first information board on this Exeter City Walls Trail. I think we can see maybe our first port of call straight ahead of us up here. And here we are. Here's our first information board, number 1 in Castle Street. The information here is the city of Exeter has almost 2,000 years of history, and during this time its wall has saved the city on more than one occasion. As well as being a defensive structure, the wall has been the backdrop to ceremonies and punishments. So there you go, that's one ticked off. Now we've got to carry on here and find Bailey Street. And here's Bailey Street. So we've got to go down here. I don't know if this on the left is part of the old wall or if just a very old part of a building. It does look like it could be part of the old wall, doesn't it really? Anyway, we've got to carry on here and look for Northern Hay Place. Well, here's Northern Hay Place, but it doesn't look very historic, but I think maybe if we walk up there things will start to improve. Aha, so we're now coming into Northern Hay Gardens. Now it says follow the higher path by the wall. So there's the wall up there. So is it this way? No, I don't think so. Maybe this way. Already things are looking a lot better, aren't they? Okay, let's head up this way. Hello there. I think this is one of the Courtenay family from Powderham Castle. Yeah, you can see that on another one of our videos right here on this channel. It's lovely, very autumnal along here, very pretty in Northern Hay Gardens in Exeter. So we're looking for something called Athelstan's Tower, which is opposite a bandstand, and it says when we get there we can discover why Exeter city walls were built. You can still see the walls on the left. I can see the bandstand coming up on the right hand side, but it tells us to continue on the higher path and hopefully we should find Athelstan's Tower. Just look at these beautiful autumnal colours. It has been raining for most of the last few days, but it's just dried up at the moment, so let's hope that it stays dry to enable us to complete this trail today. Absolutely stunning, isn't it? Aha, I think I can see another information board on the left hand side coming up. So here's information board number 2, Northern Hay Gardens, very kindly signed for us by, is it Norm? Anyway, yeah, cheers Norm. Anyway, the first major settlement of Exeter was by the Roman Second Augustan Legion in 55 AD, and the stone wall protected this strategically important position. After the Romans left, the city was virtually abandoned, but life was re-established in Saxon times. And here it says you can clearly see the various types of stone that were used at different times. Let's go and have a closer look at this part of the wall. Yeah, you can see how it's been added to through the different ages, and I'm guessing that this is Athelstan's tower. There's a little gate there, but I'm guessing... Oh no, Mr. Squirrel! Came to say hello. I'm guessing this is going to be locked, isn't it? What a shame, I'd be fascinated to go through there. Okay, so that's point number 2. So let's head off to our third port of call. Lovely little path. They do a great job of maintaining these parks here. And for a city, Exeter's got a lot of green space. It really is lovely. I think we've got to go down here and then hang a left. Aha. So, which way do we go here? So we're now inside the walls, I think. Let's have a look. I think we maybe go this way. And we're going to approach parts of Exeter Castle. No, it wasn't that way. So let's try this way. Oh, there's a better view of Athelstan's tower, look. Might take a picture of that for the thumbnail. Good old Athelstan. Know how to build a good tower. Yeah, you get a really good view of the tower, the inner parts of the walls here. So we're going to carry on along here, I think. I may take the odd wrong turn on this walk, but that's all part of the adventure. Look how beautiful it is here. And by the way, we've come out of Northern Hay Gardens. This is now called Rougemont Gardens. Lovely, isn't it? Looks like we're approaching our next port of call. See if I can find the next information board, which I think might just be down here on the right. I think that's the back of it there. And here it is, information point number 3. We're at the Norman Gatehouse. Look at this. Now this is impressive. Isn't that beautiful? Part of Rougemont Castle, it says on the plaque there. So what does it say in my little information bit here? Not strictly part of the wall, the castle was an important part of the city's defences. Built in 1068 following the Norman siege of Exeter, it established a foothold of control for the Normans over the previously rebellious citizens of Exeter. Nothing changes there then, eh? The gatehouse is the oldest standing castle building in Britain. Would you believe that? And there's a couple of interesting plaques here. Look at this, the Devon witches. The last people in England to be executed for witchcraft, tried here and hanged at Heavy Tree, which is part of Exeter. My goodness me. So this gatehouse was built by William the Conqueror. I didn't realise he was so good with a trowel. Soon after 1066 as part of the Norman Castle of Rougemont. And that plaque was put there for Queen Elizabeth II's Silver Jubilee in 1977. Right, so we're almost doubling back on ourselves for this next part. We've got to walk back through Rougemont Gardens and back towards Northern Hay Gardens. It really is lovely in these gardens. So autumnal, it's very, very pretty. I'm not a city boy at all. I was brought up in the countryside, and I like going into cities to the theatre or to a gig or the occasional bit of shopping, that sort of stuff. But I'd really rather be in a more rural environment. But I do like Exeter. It's a really nice city. Not too big, just quite compact. Some lovely history here, a lot of old buildings. And I think it's a really nice place actually. And we're back here again. Okay, so back through the gate to the monuments, and then I think we go left. Right, so at last we're leaving Northern Hay Gardens. We're looking for Queen Street, which I think may be the road beyond the gate to the bottom of here. Yep, so that's Queen Street off to the left, but we're going down here. Some pretty old cottages down here. No, it said after 50 metres turn left into Maddox Road, but I haven't seen anywhere on the left to turn into. I think I might have to turn around and go and have another look. Aha, here it is, but it's blocked off. Right, so I've got to find another way of getting around there. We can do it. Right, so here we are, we found it at last. This is North Gate. Now this was the site of the smallest of the city's 4 main gates. It was burnt down during the Perkin-Warbeck Rebellion of 1497 and also damaged during the Prayer Book Rebellion of 1549. Nothing to see then, but at least we made it to the information point number 4. Quite a pretty street actually. Right, we're now back on track, Bartholomew Street East. We've got to go down here. Looks like there's a bit of a building site, but we're looking out for somewhere called Snail Tower. Oh my goodness me. Keep the railings on your right, it says. So there's the railings, and there's a view of another one of Exeter's beautiful churches. But we're going this way on the hunt for Snail Tower. What could that be all about? And here we are into yet another park. So much green space in Exeter. And one thing I do like about Exeter is that although it's a city, you're never very far from the countryside. Even right here in the city centre, you can see the Devon hills in the distance over there. Really enjoying this today actually. I love doing a trail, especially where it's places that I haven't been before. And if you'd like to do this trail around Exeter City Wall, just Google Exeter City Wall and you'll find the trail. You can download it for yourself. It's a nice row of cottages. Well, we've just had Halloween, so that's very appropriate, isn't it? And here we are already. Information board number 5, Snail Tower. So what about Snail Tower then? Well, it's on the corner of Bartholomew Terrace. But right here, once stood, it's no longer here sadly, a large semicircular tower that dominated the defences to the west of Exeter. It offered an excellent observation point for the many sieges of the city, particularly during the English Civil War. And as you can see, the path we've been walking across is quite elevated with good views across to the west. So this is where Snail Tower once stood. Nothing to do with snails that crawl around with the shell on the back. This is S-N-A-Y-L-E. Look at this great little cinema here. Never noticed that before. Mind you, I've never been in this part of Exeter ever before. Right, so it tells me to reach the end of Bartholomew Street West, which is where we are. This is the very bottom of 4th Street. If we were to turn left, it would take us straight back up into the city centre. But we've got to carry on down that hill. And we're heading towards Westgate. Definitely one of the older parts of the city now. So hopefully this should be part of what we're looking for. Let's just carry on a bit more. And look at this beautiful old building here. Isn't that just gorgeous? And this is called Stepcote Hill. Yeah, it's a lovely little corner of Exeter here. Certainly never seen this before. What a gorgeous little shop this is. And here we are. That's plaque number 6. This is Westgate. And this gate was the main entrance to Exeter from Plymouth and Cornwall, and was a particularly busy place at the height of the woolen cloth trade. You get a very nice view of part of the wall here as well. So we're now on Western Way, which is one of the main ring roads of Exeter. And if we were to go down there to the right, we would go to Exeter Quays, which is lovely. We're going to do that in a different video. So we're going to carry on up here, and we've got to take the first street on our right, which I think is called Lower Coombe Street. Yeah, so this is Lower Coombe Street. So it says to carry on to the end and then go on to the cobbled Quay Hill. So maybe we will get a glimpse of the quays today. Not quite sure yet, but we'll find out in a second, won't we? Well, it does very much look like we are heading down towards the quays, which is very nice. So this is Quay Hill. We've got to head our way down to the bottom of here. And yes, as we're so close to the quays, here we are at plaque number 7 on the City Wall Trail. This is Watergate. Now this was added to the City Wall circuit for commercial rather than defensive reasons. During the 16th and 17th centuries, this area was involved in the woolen cloth industry, be it finishing the cloth on X Island or exporting the cloth from the quay. So just before we go back up the hill, I think we've got to go back up there. Let's go and have a very quick look at Exeter Quays. And we'll do that properly in another video when it's a sunny day. And you can see how nicely they've done it here now. Here's a nice pub, that's the Prospect. Gets very busy there in the summer. A couple of the old quayside warehouses there, of course now converted to, I guess, apartments. And on the ground floor you've got loads of little businesses along here selling artisan goods. There's a couple of cafes. Really is very nice, especially on a sunny day. Nice place to sit out here. And I remember in this little covered area here seeing a great jazz concert one summer's day. It was really something. And I think it's great what they've done here in Exeter, like they have in so many different parts of the UK where there used to be abandoned and derelict docksides, waterside areas. They've now turned them into very trendy areas with apartments, cafes, and made them nice places for people to come and visit. And you can see they've done it on both sides of the water here. This is the cafe, which is part of the antique centre. That is a fascinating place to wander around. They've got everything in there, from old books to little ornaments to little relics and just anything. It's just absolutely fascinating. And another lovely place there to sit and have a drink or a meal on a nice day. And even on this November morning, there are people sitting there having their coffees. Very nice indeed. One of the buildings that would have been associated with all the trade here in days gone by, Kenaway and Company Limited, bonded stores, nowadays turned into a lounge and cocktail club. And this is the historic Customs House. In the days when this was a thriving port and vessels were coming up here from overseas, this is where they'd have done all the customs stuff. And nowadays it's a museum. I think you can go in there and have a look around. Shut today though. And at last the sun has very kindly made an appearance for us. A couple of very nice places to eat and drink along here. You've got on the waterfront, just on the left hand side, and at the end there's a lovely little cafe beside the water where we quite often stop for a coffee or a bite of lunch. Very tempted to go there today, but I think while the sun is out I'm going to carry on with this trail. Actually, just while we're down here at the quays, you can see some of the lovely little businesses here. They're almost like caves. They're built into these big walls. Now here is something rather unusual. You see this rope going across the river here. This is a ferry, a little ferry. We've been across there a couple of times in the past. Obviously I think it must be summer only, but basically there's a little boat there and the guy pulls himself across and his passengers in the boat by just doing hand by hand across there using that rope. Quite amazing. I think we went across there a couple of years ago, something like that, and it wasn't much, and it's quite an experience, and it takes you across to the other side, saves you walking all the way over there to the bridge. Just another quirky thing you can do down here at Exeter Quays. Okie dokie, so we're back up at the wall and we're going to head back across the main road back in towards the city centre, and our next port of call is called the South Gate, and I think we go up here. You can see here where the wall stops or has been broken down to make way for the main road, and then it continues the other side just in front of those flats. Very impressive old building. Looks like it maybe was a church at one point. Nowadays it's home to Exeter White Ensign Club, but it's right on the site of point number 8. Here we are at South Gate, a grand entrance. Now, the south gate was the most impressive of all the four main gates of Exeter, overlooking an area that lacked any natural defence. It was seen to be in an especially vulnerable position. Now, the Romans constructed a gate with two square towers that were further protected by a ditch that ran along the flank of the city wall. So here we are at South Gate. You can see how it would have looked back in the day. And Southgate, of course, well, named after former England football manager Gareth, naturally. So there you go. Of course you know that's all true, don't you? I don't just make this stuff up. And here we are back with the wall again. So we're going to follow the outside of the city wall until we reach Southern Hay. If you remember at the start of this video, we were on Northern Hay. So we've now come right the way around to the other side of the old boundaries of Exeter, and we're heading for Southern Hay. And it's very impressive, there's still so much of the old wall left here in Exeter, isn't it? And it's not a wall that you can walk along the top of like you can in places like Chester and York, but it's still very impressive. Really enjoying this walk today. Now here we are at Southern Hay. This fooled me, I thought this was going to be our next plaque, but no, this is part of a different trail called the Medieval Trail. And I noticed that when we were down by the quays, there's also one called the Woolen Trail as well. So you've got the City Walls Trail, the Medieval Trail, and the Woolen Trail. So you can take your choice. Aha, I recognise where we are now. That's Exeter Crown Court, just at the bottom of the road. I did jury service there a couple of years ago for 2 weeks. Did we find them guilty or not guilty? I couldn't possibly say. Southern Hay is a very smart part of Exeter. Lots of legal companies, solicitors, estate agents, high-end sort of companies along here. Now I'm looking for our final port of call, which will be plaque number 9, which is at the East Gate. I think it's in this direction, but if I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, I'm ever so slightly lost. But we'll see. Let's carry on this way just for now. Aha, now this is encouraging because the instructions say at the end of Southern Hay, turn left and continue behind Broadwalk House. So here is Broadwalk House. So if I'm going to go behind it, let's go through here. And this will take us onto a different path. And let's see where this takes us. And what a contrast of ancient and modern, part of the old ancient city walls here, and modern apartments behind them, and modern office buildings this side as well. But we are here, plaque number 9. This is East Gate, the gateway to Exeter. Now this was formerly the principal entry point to Exeter. This gate played a vital defensive role during the many sieges of the city, especially during the Perkin-Warbeck Rebellion. Here we are, we've made it to point number 9, and that's what it would have looked like. A bit different nowadays. And if you're wondering what the Perkin-Warbeck Rebellion was, he was a pretender to the throne following the accession of Henry VII. Warbeck raised a force of 6,000 in Cornwall that marched against Exeter to besiege it. Although the North Gate was burnt down and the East Gate was momentarily breached, the rebels, disheartened by the heavy losses, eventually gave up, and Warbeck tried to flee the country. There he is. Doesn't look too sad about it. And no sooner have we left the wall than we are back in the 21st century. This is the Princess Hay shopping centre, main shopping centre in Exeter, and the high streets in front of us. And it's almost time for lunch. And just before we finish, just take a look at this. Isn't it amazing? Smack bang in the city centre, surrounded by modern buildings. And you've got this beautiful old ruin of the church here. And it's really nice what they've done with it. They could have just knocked it down, couldn't they? But no, they've made it into a city centre attraction. Definitely a mix of ancient and modern. Just on the wall of one of the shops next to it, some information. So I'm assuming the church was St Catherine's, but there used to be all sorts of almshouses and other buildings associated with it as well. But it's good that they remember it. And another lovely little church tucked away, very close to the cathedral, is still very much its own place. and some of the lovely buildings right here in Cathedral Green, facing Exeter Cathedral. And within just a matter of a couple of weeks, all this will be bustling, open, and full of Christmas spirit. Hard to believe it's that time of year already, isn't it? Each of these will be selling their own wares, whether it be local gin or food, clothing, different items that they've made, whatever it is. Mainly produce from Devon and the southwest of England. It's a joyous thing to come to. Highly recommended. So there we are, peeps. Hope you enjoyed that. We've done the Exeter City Walls Trail, all 9 points of it. I've seen loads of bits of Exeter I've never seen before. It's been very, very interesting. Highly recommended. If you want to do it yourself, you can download the Exeter City Walls Trail from the internet. So we've had a good morning and the sun is coming out just as we're finishing. That's always how it is. Never mind, we've had a great time. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you'll join me again on the next one very soon.